Friends, we have some good news. In this world of talking about abuse in the church, SA and domestic abuse and grooming, I've called for a church that will make a decided stance against allegations of abuse, allegations of SA. And we wondered whether or not we were going to find one church that would take a decided stance against SA. And this morning I was sent a news article from Grenada where the church in Grenada, the Seventh-day Adventist Church in Grenada, take a decided stance against SA. And there's much that we can learn from it. Now, I know that there might be this church might be on a journey of their own. They're learning. I hear that this weekend there were some programs that was going on in the church around educating the church around grooming and around SA, how to deal with allegations like that, perhaps how to safeguard and protect the vulnerable, children and young people and vulnerable adults. And of course, that is going to be an ongoing work, as it is in many churches. But this decision that this church has made, I am really excited about that. So I'm going to share my screen and just share with you what was reported. Now, all of this for now is it's allegations. There's nothing yet that is the police is investigating. So there's nothing yet that is there's no criminal charges or anything like that. And so it was reported by the news report in Grenada, the news today that the Adventist Church has been rocked by SA, the scandal with a very prominent pastor and at their flagship church in Archibald Avenue in St. George, and he has been charged with assaulting a schoolgirl. Now, this girl must have been below 16, and so we don't know how long the abuse happened for. But what one of the person from the church has said to the news is that they said, and I quote, "We've severed ties with him already. He's no longer a worker in the Grenada conference. He is no longer a pastor," said a leading member of the church. And the news today reported that. Now, this pastor was ordained in 2022. Now, they cannot say who he is for legal reasons because no charges has been brought against him yet. So they can't say who he is just yet. And so these are allegations at the moment. But even though they're allegations, they're strong enough for the conference in Grenada to sever ties with this gentleman. He is no longer a pastor. And for a long time, we've been calling for churches to take a decided stance to say, what is going to be our response to abuse? What is going to be our response to children and young people and vulnerable adults being harmed? What is going to be our response? And they have decided that our response is, when there's an allegation that is as serious as this, then this person will no longer be employed by us. And I believe that took courage. That took a lot of courage to make such a stance. That took it tells us about the mindset of the people that are in leadership there in Grenada, that they've taken a decided stance. Now, as I'm saying, I'm sure it's not perfect there. I'm sure there's much learning to do. There might be other people who have not been fired, but this one, I think a church has to start somewhere. And they're starting. And even if this is the first time that they are doing it, they have started. And we're thankful for that. And we want to highlight that they have started. They said, the spokesperson for the church says, under the rules, anyone found guilty will be relieved of their duties or asked to resign from their positions of leadership in the church. That line alone does my heart good, because the last video that I responded to the South England Conference recommendations from the Donald Kelly case, and there are lots of really good recommendations. And my question was, how were we going to know that these recommendations are accepted, that they're going to be integrated? How will we know that training is happening, that the executive committee knows their task, that who is going to be accountable for to allow Donald Kelly to perform as he has for years and harming people, who is going to say it happened on my watch and I'm sorry? Otherwise, we don't, there might be this blanket apology that is made that it doesn't, there will be no resonance with it, because nobody will be taking responsibility. Nobody will be saying it was me, it was on my watch, and I apologize to the people who have been hurt. I apologize to the families of the people who have been hurt. I apologize to the church at large. I apologize to the community. It was me. I was in leadership. I was the president. I was the executive secretary. I was on the executive committee. I heard these allegations, and we did not respond in a way that was going to safeguard people. I think sometimes the courage that is required for people to stand up and say things like that, many people don't have that. But I believe that if we don't have it, we can cultivate it. We can work to get to the place where we say, it was me and I'm sorry. I know better now. I'm learning. It wasn't because I agreed with abuse. It wasn't because we were friends. It wasn't because of any of those things. I didn't know. I'm learning. I'm growing. I'm understanding more. I am educating myself. These are the training courses that I'm going on. These are the ones that I've been on. These are the books that I'm reading. This is the very intentional path of educating myself around abuse, around how to manage and to respond to allegations of abuse. And this is the decided path. This is the very intentional. These are the intentional steps that I'm taking to do this. I think that would take courage, and that would restore trust in church leadership. But at the moment, we're not hearing anything. We heard the report came out last week that took nearly a year, and we're asking questions like, how are we going to know? And there's no pathway for accountability. There is nothing about responsibility. There's nobody that is saying it was me. And I know that takes courage. And I think sometimes I wonder if, the legal ramifications has overridden, just honesty and taking and responsibility taken. So for Grenada to do this, I think it's a really good step in the right direction. What they're saying, the church is saying, is under the rules of this church, the organization, the governing body of the church, and executive members listen, executive directors of the churches listen to this. They said, under the rules that we operate under, anyone that is found guilty will be relieved of their duties. But this gentleman has not even been found guilty yet. But those allegations are serious enough for the people in Grenada to say, when an allegation like that is made, anybody that an allegation like that is made against, they will be relieved of their duties. And they can be regular members, but they will not be in leadership. And I think that is a really good stance that they're taking, because what it will do is to send a message to anybody else, any other perpetrator operating under the radar knows that their job is at risk, their reputation is at risk, and it's time now to stop. Put your hand up and said, I'm stopping. I did it too. And I know that again takes courage. And, lots of people don't have that kind of courage. But they're saying anybody that is anything like that, this is the decision that we will take. And of course, I know that this wasn't an easy decision. It took time. I was hearing about this before the news report. So it really is important that we highlight what is happening there in Grenada. And I think that is amazing. I think that is awesome. I think there's a lot of there are a lot of Adventist churches that can learn. There are lots of other churches within Christian communities that can learn about this. So once again, the controversial pastor cannot be named for legal reasons because he's not been charged yet. And of course, the young person has not been named, but we do not need to know the names. What we need to know, what we do here at Wounds to Scars, because we work with victims, what we do here at Wounds to Scars is talk about how the church has dealt with it, how the church manages it. In the last video I did, I talked about how Gateway Church dealt with the elders who knew about Robert Morris. and did nothing, and they were relieved of their duties. And I talked about how the South England Conference of Seventh-day Adventists for their report, what we could learn or what we could take away from Gateway Church, and how the leader stood in front of all of us. This was on social media, and said, this is what happened. This is how we've managed it. This is the investigative body. These are the people that knew about it from investigation, and they've been relieved of their duties. And here is another conference saying, another denomination within the Christian community saying, there's this allegation, it's serious enough for us to protect vulnerable people, and we are going to relieve this gentleman of his duties. He's free to become a member of the church, but he will no longer be in leadership. Because if one person who an allegation is made against is in leadership and continues to be in leadership, and you or another leader know about it, it tarnishes all the leadership in that denomination, all of the leadership in that organization. Because when one knows and one is affected, and everybody's turning a blind eye against something that is so devastatingly harmful and damaging to somebody's life, sometimes for the rest of their lives, while you're standing in the pulpit and talking about a loving God, while you're hurting people at the same time. Now, when somebody's doing that and other people know and do nothing about it, then it tarnishes everybody. And so that's why it's important for leadership to take a decided stance, as these two congregations that we've named, and say, you're a leader, you've done something like that, then you will no longer be a leader. Thank you for watching this video. Please do not forget to like and subscribe to our channel, and share this video with those who you think will benefit.